Here we are, team, ready to go for another episode of the podcast. The Better Body Academy podcast is coming to you live on this beautiful Saturday morning or Friday afternoon, if it is indeed for you. We're going to be getting started on this episode in just a touch over 2 minutes. I'm pumped. So far, 2 cold showers today. Oh, getting into these cold showers. So before the gym at like 6 o'clock, get the cold shower in. And then after the gym at like 10 o'clock, another cold shower in. I'm starting to become addicted to it. I don't know about you guys, but what's going on out in the crowd? You guys tell me. Are you starting to become addicted to this thing? Like for me, it's just... it's probably what I've been looking for, to be honest. I'm sitting there still, procrastinating for a minute and then just going, nah, this is good. This is hard. So let's get stuck in and do this. I'm conditioning myself to love doing hard things. And Steve says, absolutely. It's refreshing, isn't it, Steve? 100%, mate. So good morning or good afternoon to everyone. We're going to pop off this podcast in a minute and a half. I love your company here this morning, guys. We've got 20 people already coming in to watch this one live, starting to get a grip on YouTube as well. We've got nearly 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty damn cool. The podcast is getting out. So to all of you that have already done a review of the podcast on Apple, I just want to say I really, really appreciate you. It makes the world of difference to me. If you are able to do it, please, it's so very simple, guys. All you do is go over to Apple, scroll down to the bottom where you see the stars under episode 1 and just press whatever stars you think it deserves and leave a comment. It helps it get out to the algorithm. Guys, we're starting in 45 seconds. Let me say hello to a few of the crew. Good morning, Nikki friend. How are you, mate? Good morning, mate. I can't see who it is, but I know you're there. Pam, how are you, girl? Tez is in here in the gym lifting weights, as he always is. Who else have we got in here as we bring in our TikTok audience? Hello, Claire. Good morning, or evening rather for you. Ash, how are you, mate? Lovely to have your company in here. We've got Jen Lovegrove turning up and showing up for herself. I love it. Stevie Hopley, how are you? We've got Justin, mate, how are you? All the way over at YouTube. I hope you're well, buddy. You have helped me a lot of late, so I want to say thank you. Brother, I appreciate you, mate. Thank you for saying so, and thank you for helping to bolster my YouTube audience. It's all right. All good. Hello, Gina. What's going on, babe? Hello, Pete. All right, guys, I think we're ready to get started. Okay, here we go. Let's count it in on the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. We're about getting results in a sustainable way. Now, if you're, one of these guys that, wants to jump on stage and maybe compete, I'm probably not your guy. But if you're the average mum or dad and you're in the business of losing some weight, feeling better about yourself, getting in shape, well, you found the podcast that's going to help. You just need to subscribe and get involved. Okay, so today we're going to be talking simple 10 tips to maximize your results in the gym. The reason we're doing this podcast is a couple of weeks ago, I did a podcast on some simple eating advice. And I got overwhelmed with a bunch of feedback saying, Jace, I really enjoyed that podcast. It was super practical. So I'm giving you another very practical, value-based podcast, and I hope it helps. Bear in mind, if you're watching on Facebook, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere, we're going to be sticking after the podcast concludes, having a discussion. You can ask any questions or provide any tips. I want to firstly shout out everyone inside our Better Body Academy that is committing to the cold shower challenge that we're doing for the month of March. It is indeed a challenge. A minimum 30-second cold shower to start every morning. Already, there's some wallflowers, as they always are. But if you're in and you're doing this, I'm so proud of you. Well done. Okay, let's get stuck into the episode. Firstly, let's just quickly hammer some reasons why lifting is important. Because I think the moment that I put up, 10 tips to maximize results in the gym, a number of you automatically switch off because you have no interest in a gym, or more likely because you're scared of the gym, which we're all scared of things that we haven't made habitual yet. So I totally understand this. So let me first talk about five reasons why I believe lifting is important. Number one, functional strength. Let's talk about what I mean by this. I think a lot of people, as they get older, they just can't do things anymore. And I don't know about you, but what's the point of living till 80 or 90 or 100 but being completely decrepit? What would be the benefit of that? You're just going to extend your shit quality of life. So for me, that's not living. I was having a conversation to my missus the other day, and she said she's turning 40 on Sunday. Cordia is 40. Can you believe she's 40? I was talking to her earlier, and she said, you know what, Jace? I'm starting to realize the benefits of my gym training. And I said, how so? And she says, nearly everything you do in the gym mimics what I'm doing as a mum. And she gave me an example. She said, the amount of times that our 7-month-old baby cries in the middle of the night, she has to reach into his crib and pick him back out. That's the equivalent of doing a deadlift. And there are so many versions of that. So functional strength is number one. Number two is muscle looks good. Okay, I don't know anyone that says, now when we say the thing muscle looks good, I'm not talking about steroid-ridden fucking injectors. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about having decent composition. If you lose weight and you just lose weight and you remove that superficial level of body fat, but then underneath it, there's just not much composition, you kind of look like a plastic bag. That's not what you want. When you think about being healthy, what you're thinking about, I might be putting words into your mouth, but what I think that you're thinking about is feeling like you can look in the mirror and actually you're filled out. You're filling out your shirts and dresses, not that it's looking like a rake with a bunch of clothes on it. Would that be accurate? Am I accurate on actually saying that? So there's actually a benefit to muscle composition. Number three, metabolism, right? As you get older and you become less functional and you lose muscle, what's going to happen is your metabolism is going to tank, and this is going to lead to you putting on more weight. That's just the way it goes for 90% of the world. If you can lift weights, this is one way of preserving your metabolism because you've got more muscle. You've got a bigger engine that needs calories. Therefore, it's much easier to manage your weight. Number four, mental health. I don't know of a prescription, for me personally at least, I don't know of a prescription that is any more beneficial than lifting weights for my stress management and my anxiety. Both of which I'd be lying if I said I don't struggle through from time to time. And for me, this is my prescription. I love structure. I love getting into the gym, and I love the feeling of going and paying my dues and knowing that it's helping my mental health. Number five, confidence and self-belief that comes as a result of that. When you do hard things like lift weights, it gives you the confidence, self-belief to go out in the world and show up the way you want to show up. So if I haven't convinced you yet, and you're inside Better Body Academy, if I haven't convinced you of the benefits of resistance training and you're still going to these classes where you're jumping around in your living room like a silly duffer, you need to watch 2 trainings, okay? You have these trainings, these master classes inside Better Body Academy. You will find them in the guides section of our Facebook group, or you will also find them in your Better Body Academy app under guides. They are called the Engine Upgrade. That's the first masterclass you want, the Engine Upgrade. The second masterclass you want is the Gym Gains Guide, where I go into the gym with you and show you exactly what to do when you are there. If you haven't watched those 2 masterclasses, you are missing out. Go into your app, find the masterclasses, the Engine Upgrade, the Gym Gains Guide. Okay? All right, let's get into the 10 tips for maximizing your workouts. Now, the way I want you to think about this is have it like a tick box. When I say the thing, I want you to ask yourself, am I doing that thing? Okay, am I abiding by that principle or am I not? Let's get stuck in. Number one, you've got to start with a proper workout, a proper warm-up. Okay, now this might sound so obvious, but if you don't understand the reason why you're doing a proper warm-up, then you might not understand, you might not commit to it, okay? The reason we are doing a proper warm-up, okay, and what I mean by a warm-up is a few stages, maybe 3 to 4 minutes only on a cardio machine at just very moderate, so get on the treadmill and start walking or go for a little jog, and then doing some limbering up exercises. Why are we doing that? Is because we're trying to get blood flow hence nutrients and oxygen into the muscles, into the organs like the brain. Okay, that's why we're doing it. If we walk in there and just start lifting, the chances of that being a good workout that doesn't injure us are pretty average. Okay, all right. Other point about working out is doing warm-up sets. Well, what are warm-up sets? Let's pretend you are Gina and you're about to do some, let's say, some goblet squats. Your weight that you lift might be 15 kilograms. However, you shouldn't go straight to 15 kilograms. You should first do some body weight squats to get the muscles primed. You should then do squats at about 50%. So if 15 kilograms is your working dumbbell weight for a goblet squat, you probably want to start at about 7 kilos. So you're limbering up. This is going to help you avoid injury. It's going to help you prime the muscle to your lifting working weight, and it's going to help you with your form. Okay, so that's the first tip for you. Number 2 is to stop avoiding compound exercises. I think a lot of us, what we do is we avoid things like squats and deadlifts and bench presses and pull-ups. Part of the reason for that is our reduced mobility. But when you avoid those exercises, you're effectively, it's almost like avoiding the hardest conversations that you need to have in your life. These are the things that you need to do to get the maximum bang for buck. For you to try to get the benefit of squats or deadlifts through isolation exercises like leg extensions or hamstring curls exclusively, you have to do a lot more work. The reason for it is these big, gross movements like deadlifts and squats, they involve a number of things, multiple muscles and multiple joints over a full range of motion, as opposed to let's say a standard leg extension where you're sitting there on the spot and only one hip hinge is moving. Does that make sense? Or rather, knee extension is moving. So you need to make sure that you're doing these bigger movements, even if you're a little bit scared of them at the start, okay? You're fearful of them because in your mind you think, well, what if I get stuck underneath this squat? Or what if I injure myself in this deadlift? I just want to point out that there's no dangerous exercises, okay? There's no dangerous exercises. There is dangerous or poor form. And that's what you need to understand, okay? There's no dangerous exercises. There is poor form. So what we need to do is start with a very low weight. In most cases, it's going to be the bar only. And we need to practice that movement, even if we need to get help off a PT or someone that's a little bit more experienced, just to get them to do a form check on you. This is going to go a long way, but don't avoid those movements. You're just not going to replace those movements with isolation exercises. And a great example is, a lot of people want to get bigger arms. They want to have more toned arms, right? And that's a fair thing to want, a fair goal to want. Instantly, when we think about arms, we go straight to doing like bicep curls, which is not a compound movement. Probably the best way that you could build your arms is doing underhand pull-ups that not only work your bicep, but work your lats, work your back, and the entirety of your body. It's funny that when we think about squats and deadlifts and bench presses, we think about the big parts like chest and legs, but when it comes to working our arms, we don't really think about compound movements. One of the best ways to develop your triceps, as an example, is doing more bench press. So even though it's not just targeting the triceps, it's targeting a bunch of extra things. So these compound exercises give you maximal bang for buck. Does this make sense? All right, number 3, using progressive overload. The simple way to apply this is just to ask yourself, am I just in here going through the motions? Now, I'm always of the opinion that our workout is better than no workout. But if you're in that zone where you're getting consistent with your workouts, the question you always want to be asking yourself is, am I just going through the motions here? Because if you're going through the motions, it'll work at the start, but you'll generally start to plateau quite quickly. Now, when we think about progressive overload, in other words, progressively overloading the resistance that you're applying to the muscle, when we think about that, we automatically think about, I need to lift more weight, particularly if you're a guy. More often than not, you don't need to lift more weight, because if you lifted more weight, the chances of your form staying good is probably low. So what instead we want to do is seek out other ways to progressively overload the movement. What that would mean is, if you normally stop at 8 reps, try to squeeze another 2 reps at the same weight rather than increasing the weight. If you're usually on a fairly quick tempo doing your squats as an example, you might be just doing bar squats. Okay, so going into the squat rack and doing bar squats, you might do 10 reps of the bar. What I want you to try is really slowing down the decline part of the movement. And this will torch your legs, absolutely torch your legs. So you haven't put on more weight, you've just slowed the movement down, which means there's more time that your muscles are under that tension, therefore more benefit. Does that make sense? You could try using less rest, or you could try doing a progressed version of the movement. So if you're like Gina and you're doing goblet squats, you could move on to doing something like a Bulgarian split squat or a Smith machine split squat, or you might move into doing something like a barbell squat or a front press, okay? A front squat. What I want you to do is get in the habit of tracking your progress, because the best indication of progress in terms of muscle development is always going to be improvements in your strength. Okay, number 4 is to understand, and just as I'm doing this podcast, I'm thinking that Terry is probably in the gym right now and absolutely dominating his current set because he's thinking about progressive overload. So shout out to you, Tez. Okay, so number 4, more is not always better. Okay, I think when we start to get a little bit addicted to our fitness journey and we start to get addicted to our gym, which is completely natural and beautiful because you're loving the process, we start to think that I need to train every single day for 2 hours. The truth is, you're probably doing more damage than it's actually worth. The process of muscle building is like renovating a house, okay? I want you to imagine the builders are on site and they're just bashing everything down all the time, working 24 hours a day. Their efficiency is not going to be good. The house is going to just be torn right down with never a chance to actually do the rebuilding phase. And this is the way a lot of people treat their working out. They tear down muscle fibers, which is a good thing, but then there's no ability for the muscle to actually recover. So we've got to listen to our body, particularly at the start. Okay? We don't want to be training 7 days a week. We don't even want to be training 5 days a week unless we're somewhat of a seasoned trainer, or someone that is just a little bit detrained and is coming back into it and knows exactly what they're doing. You need rest days to allow time for that process of healing to happen. You also need the right conditions. And what I mean by that is adequate sleep. If you are training the house down and your gym sessions are, great, but your nutrition is crap and you're sleeping 4 hours a night, the chance of you building muscle is flatly zero. Flatly zero. I've got a question here from YouTube, which I'm going to answer because it's a great question. Dracula asks, what advice do you have for a 23-year-old that has never worked out? Great question, Dracula. So what I would do is probably start at 2 days a week and making sure that you've got a program to follow, because the reality is, here's what's going to happen. You're probably going to go in, like most of us when we start, and you're going to try to just force yourself into the gym, but then you're going to get in there and not know what to do, right? And so when you're in there, a gym is a really intimidating place when you first get started, isn't it? So what's going to happen is you're going to walk in there, you're going to hear all the barbells clanging and dumbbells clanging and the noises, and then you're going to hear these wankers that are grunting, which is totally unnecessary most of the time. And what's going to happen is you're just going to walk back out again, or maybe just go and do cardio. What I would really suggest you do is, number 1, Dracula, join our fucking program, mate, and I'll teach you everything you need to know, okay? Secondly, what you need to do is you need to have a plan, okay? Just have a plan to follow. We're going to talk about that in a moment, okay? Let's keep going. Number 5, You got to use proper form. Okay. Let's talk about how the muscle building process actually happens. Here's the way it happens. When you are applying a force, let me give you a visual to those that are watching live. If I am trying to build my bicep, what I need to do is increase the tension on this muscle so that this muscle starts to have these little micro tears, right? So what I need to do is I need to focus on activities that extract the maximum tension out of that muscle, one of which we could do a bicep curl or we could do a chin up as we talked about. But the moment that your form starts to take the focus off that specific muscle, because you're swinging, because you're momentum, you're using momentum to lift the movement, you're taking the tension off that muscle. And when you take the tension off the muscle, you then lessen the effectiveness of that workout. So what you're better to do is don't try to be a power lifter. Don't try to be the strongest guy in the gym. If you're a power lifter like Nico or like Kiara, you're trying to move the maximum amount of weight as quickly as possible into the position that it needs to get to. The form is less important, right? It is in the training important, but when you're performing, you're just trying to get it from here to here. If you're trying to change your body and improve your strength, the form is the most important part. So just trying to move something quickly to look like a hero is not the way to do it. The reason that I am largely injury-free as a 40-year-old guy, and probably the strongest that I've ever been, is because I started as a 10-year-old kid with little 2-kilo biceps. Because I was lucky enough to have a coach at that point in time, or a personal trainer that was in the gym that just said, just focus on form. All these other guys come in and started injecting themselves with steroids. They got big quickly, but they were weak as piss because their form was crap. Form is everything. And if you want results, you've got to drop your ego at the door and start thinking to myself, how do I keep the tension on the muscle that I'm trying to work? If you're doing a chest press, if you're doing a bench press, right? It's really easy to just kind of get on there and grunt and force it up. You're pushing with your shoulders, you're pushing with your triceps. You're far better to dial back the weight a little bit and think about squeeze. And I'm doing this if you're watching on replay, it's hard to see. I'm squeezing my chest. The movement comes from the chest. Okay? When I'm squeezing from my chest through the entirety of the movement, I'm keeping the tension on the muscle. Now, to you ladies that are thinking, I don't want a big chest. Of course you don't want a big chest. So you might be talking about getting a big ass or getting a big bum. So what do? When you're doing your hip thrusts, don't put so much weight on that you're just trying to hump the bar. Ladies, I've seen you guys in the gym humping the bar. Stop humping the bar. Okay? What we need to be doing is getting that bar in the right position and pushing up. And I'm doing the thrust movement. We need to be pushing up with our butt. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to work the butt. So anything that takes the tension off the butt is using momentum instead of the actual contractile tissue of the butt. Okay, so think before you do every exercise, what am I trying to actually focus on here? Let's keep going. Stop varying your workout routines. Stop varying your workout routines. What do I mean by this? I think a lot of us operate by this idea, well, if I'm getting bored, I should vary it. The problem is they get bored every second week and they just keep chopping and changing the routine. So what's the problem with that? Okay? What's the problem with that? The problem is if you want to improve in the gym, there's two things that need to happen. If you want to improve your results, there's two things that need to happen. Number one, you need to slowly get stronger. Yeah? You need to get stronger. Number two, you need to get more skillful in movement. What do I mean by that? If you are someone who's just started squatting, the movement pattern of a squat, being a full body movement, is a very difficult pattern to master. I'm just going to tell you straight up, I'm still practicing, right? And my form in a squat is still hindering my ability to hit bigger numbers of weight and therefore better results. So what happens is every time you keep chopping you get to the end of doing a program for 4 weeks and you're like, oh, I need to change. This one's not, that's the wrong mindset, right? I want you to imagine Kelly Slater or Venus Williams or Serena Williams rather. Serena's the good one, right? And it doesn't matter who it is, right? Imagine they kept changing from a teenager what they were doing. Imagine they kept changing it. Kelly Slater decides that one day he's going to surf. The next day he's going to go play tennis. The next day he's going to play basketball. The next day he's going to go to the gym. The next day he's going to play football. Do you think their results would be as good as they have been? They've become a world champion? Or do you think they became a world champion by practicing and practicing and practicing the same thing? Of course it's the latter. This is skill development. This is why when you're a kid, you went to sporting practice and did the same drills over and over and over and over and over and over again to get those neural the nervous cell wiring happening. When we say something has become habitual, this just basically means you've got the system in your nervous system now to actually just repeat that pattern with ease. So if you keep changing your exercises all of the time, you're actually making things more difficult and not progressing. Number 7. This has been a pretty deep podcast, guys. So let me know if you're getting anything out of this. Please let me know in the comments if you're getting anything out of it, both on TikTok and on Facebook, YouTube. I want you to understand that strength is all in your head, okay? The power of the mind is it is unbelievable. No doubt you guys have heard of the placebo effect. That's when we take a pill that we think is going to cure our cold. It doesn't actually do fuck all, but our mind cures our cold, but we blame it on the pill, right? I'm sure all of us do that. The placebo effect is powerful, but it's equally powerful in the gym. Here's what happens. If you just take a moment to have a 10-second pre-exercise or pre-lift routine, you will find strength that you didn't know you had. What do I mean by this? Well, if you just go from flicking on Facebook in between sets to, okay, I'm going to go over here and do some chin-ups, you'll do 5 chin-ups. But if you stop and you get your head in the zone, right? You get your head in the zone and you say, you know what? I'm dialing myself in. I don't give a fuck what's going on over there, right? I'm dialing myself in here. Just 10 seconds. 5 seconds in of that 10 seconds, I want you to take some deep breaths. And I say to myself, all right, what I say to myself is, all right, let's fucking go. I reach up and then I think, squeeze, let's go. Come on, squeeze. Or I'm doing a bench press and I'm thinking to myself, okay, play around with my phone for a minute or so. Okay, I'm now within 20 seconds of doing this lift. Put my phone away, dial my mindset in, pick up the weights, sit them on my knees while I breathe for 2 or 3 seconds, and I think to myself, this is just a weight. I'm just going to push this through the fucking roof. That's what I'm saying to myself in my mind. I rock back, get into the position. I don't yell because I think that's a bit wanky, but I just go, in my mind, I'm going, and it's because my mind is in the zone, I would lift double what I would if my mind was not in the zone. And I know a lot of you have done workouts where you feel extremely weak. Sometimes you are weak. Other times it's because your just mindset is off. So it's really important to just dial in before each lift that you do. Okay, we've got 3 more. Number 8 is very simple. We need to really focus on this stuff, right? We really need to focus on this stuff. I did a TikTok the other day about the impact of dehydration. There was a recent study where they took seasoned lifters, bench pressers, they took their maximum bench press, they got them to perform it. They then dehydrated these guys and then made them to perform the movement the next day when they were dehydrated. The lifts were down something of, I can't remember the exact number, but something in the vicinity of about 20%. No other change, but the person was dehydrated. And then, shortly after, they rehydrated them got them back to their baseline levels. And guess what? Immediately, the strength bounced back to normal levels. Just one variable, the level of hydration. That's it. So, if you're going into the gym already dehydrated, I can guarantee you the results of your workout will be negative. Right? Not negative, they'll be impacted. Okay? We need to make sure that we are drinking enough fluid over the course of the day so that when we get into the gym, our strength and therefore our results are not impaired. We need to be getting this good stuff in all day. I think we should really be aiming for 3 liters spread over the course of a day. And the simplest way to do that, in my opinion, is get yourself a liter or a liter and a half water jug and just know that I've got to drink 3 or 2 of these over the course of the day. And as Terry said, make sure that during your workout, you're drinking around a liter. Okay, so that's some really, really good guidance. All right, number 9. This is really interesting because this has nothing to do with the gym. And that is, you need to pay attention to your nutrition first and foremost. It is the most messed up area. Lifting has independent benefits of fat loss and strength gains. The things that I talked about at the start, improving your confidence, improving your mindset, all of those different things, which even if your nutrition sucks, you'll still get benefit from. But given that you're damaging tissue, it's kind of like going back to that builder analogy of the builder's building your house, but he's got no bricks. If you don't have enough nutrients, but specifically protein, you are like the builder that has the best building skills in the world, but you got no bricks. So you're not going to build any muscle. You're not going to build any tone. What's actually going to happen is if fat loss is your goal and you're in a calorie deficit, you're actually going to be losing muscle mass by doing workouts. Because from a calorie perspective, you're running out of petrol. So when you run out of petrol, your body says, okay, this is great, Gina, Terry, you're out of petrol. How do you want me to cover this deficit? You need to go to the petrol station. So it'll do 2 things. It'll use some body fat, which is good, but it'll also break down muscle tissue to use that to fuel the deficit. That is not what you want. And it's the reason that you have to have adequate protein. I've got a tip for you guys, because so many of you women particularly, I hear you saying, I don't know how to hit my protein target that I'm given in Better Body Academy. If that is you, give me a silent head nod, put up your hand. It might be a few of you boys as well. Pete Jacobs, I don't know. Terry, Justin, is this a problem for you? If it is, I've got a simple fucking tip for you. Stop overthinking it. Get your whey protein isolate. Get 2 scoops before you go to bed. That's about 55 grams of protein. And stick it in a cup of water. Go like this and then go like this. 55 grams of protein, 250 calories. Simple. So simple. The reason that we take whey protein isolate when we're in a calorie deficit, when we're trying to lose fat and preserve muscle, is because whey protein isolate contains very little calories compared to whole foods like steak and chicken. So it's a very easy, cost-effective way to get your protein in. So rather than sitting there going, oh man, I'm not hitting my protein target, I'm not doing it. Fuck, make it easy for yourself. Take 2 scoops of protein powder. Whenever I'm in a deficit on my protein numbers, before I go to bed, how much of a deficit? 50 grams. Okay, cool. 2 scoops. Bang. Protein. Shh. But I don't like protein shakes. Oh, for fuck's sake. Do you want results or not? Simple. Last one. Oh, by the way, before I cut that off, if you're boozing heaps, you're no chance of building muscle. I'll just let you know that. Number 10, and that is to have a program. Okay? Here is what happens when you don't have a program. You do the things that you like. You do the things that you're good at. So if I don't abide by a program personally, I will just do lots of chest work because I like training chest. I will do no back work because I don't like training back. But if I have a program, I'm not thinking, I'm just following. What would you do? What would be your thing that you just do all the time if you didn't have a program? If you're a woman, you're probably just going to do lots of legs and butt and nothing else. And this is going to exacerbate you having imbalances. If you're a man, you're probably going to want to do the mirror muscles, which are the arms and the chest. But you probably won't want to train legs and you probably won't want to train back because you don't see them as much. So what we need to do is follow a program where progression is included in that programming. By the way, I'll say it again, if you're not in Better Body Academy, what are you doing? I've got a mate who's an extremely smart finance guy. Okay, you guys may have seen the post that I did about a month ago now, where he said, "I'm just struggling to teach my kids how to eat properly." Right? I just don't know what to do, and I find myself in McDonald's all the time. I just don't know, because I don't know what to do. I've got no time. He's a standard parent of 2 kids. He's just like, I've just got no time. I don't know what to do. I'm getting overrun and I just can't work my shit out and my kids are paying for it, right? And I said to him, dude, here's the thing. You're an expert in finance. You can run and open businesses. You're a very smart guy. You can read P&Ls and balance sheets, right? But you're not an expert in nutrition. You're not an expert in training. So you're trying to coach your kids or set an example from your kids when you don't even know what the fuck you're doing. And thankfully, he read that post because I sent it to him. I did it as a podcast and he said, he goes, it didn't actually dawn on me. Because food is such a centerpiece and exercise is such a centerpiece of our lives, we kind of think that we should know what to do. But when you actually spelt out 5 things that I could do right now, he said, I've lost 4 kilograms in 2 weeks by simply doing 2 of the things that you've said. And it's been so fucking easy, it's not funny. But the main change that I had to realize is that I'm not an expert in food, nutrition, and training. Inside Better Body Academy, this is exactly what we do as our clients understand. And to our clients who are watching this podcast, this has been a long one and I wanted to go deep on it. But if you're not following the plan, you're effectively saying that you're better at nutrition than someone that's been doing this since 1948. Like, I live and breathe this stuff, guys. If you can just follow the plan and stop doubting it, you will get the results. This is one of the reasons why we brought in the new daily check-in tracking system. If you do that, your results are going to skyrocket over the course of the next month, because all you're doing is taking out the thinking work and following the plan. And this is where you're going to get the benefits. So guys, let me just run through those very quick. Start with a proper workout. Start with a proper warm-up. Number 2, don't avoid the compound movements. Number 3, you got to incorporate progressive overload or you're just going to get plateau. Number 4, understand that you need to rest. Number 5, focus on form over moving the movement quickly. Trying to be a tough guy, right? Focus on your form. Number 6, stop varying the movement, the routines all the time. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Number 7, strength is all in your head, okay? Get your focus right, watch what happens. Number 8, stay hydrated. Number 9, pay attention to your nutrition. You're never going to build a beautiful body without the bricks of that beautiful body. And number 10, you need to get a program to follow, or you're just going to keep doing what you like and what you're good at. Hopefully, this episode has been valuable for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you want to stick around. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a chat after this. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. And of course, have a beautiful weekend, guys.